tomorrow. Now, the minority in Parliament is demanding a refund of some $2 million paid in 2019 as premium to acquire ordinary shares for the development of the Accra Sky Train Project. The Auditor General in its 2021 report described the transaction as a net liability. Speaking to journalists in Parliament, Minority Chief Whip Governs Abuja, and who is also a ranking member on roads and transport, demanded that that amount be paid back into government kitty.
2019, we all saw this picture from South Africa where the president, the finance minister, the minister of railway, Honorable Joe Gatti, and co. In fact, the first time we heard it was when they issued a statement, Accra to get a Sky Train soon, and they called a huge amount of money, even before Parliament was aware. When they returned to Ghana, they started adding the pieces together, and it turns out that government of Ghana encouraged an investor from South Africa to set up an SPV, special purpose vehicle, in Mauritius. And before the company actually even starts to do feasibility study, someone in government decided to pay $2 million to this entity. Then this year, January this year, the former Minister for Railway, Honorable Joe Gatti, one of the people vying to be flag bearer in NPP, gave an interview, and where he suggested that he never said that the Sky Train project was going to be funded by government. I'm not sure whether he's reading what he himself has written. If government was not the one funding the Sky Train, what was the $2 million meant for? But the important question is this. When you have a situation where the minister then says in 2023 now that he always believed that before the project takes off, there should be a cabinet approval, there should be a parliamentary approval, PPA approval. Since none of these things were approved, in fact, the Auditor General report suggested that the company did not even have the necessary license to operate the system they wanted to operate. So the question is, what was the reason for government to act in the way to give out $2 million? Who actually took the decision to pay this entity in Mauritius? Was Dr. Baunia, the chairman of the economic management team, they call him the strategist now, aware that without any recourse to Public Financial Management and the Public Procurement Act, it was wrong for any government entity to pay that kind of amount? So who authorized the payment of the $2 million in terms of the so-called feasibility? And which normal decision maker pays out $2 million for a feasibility study before, as they put it, the project will determine whether the project is bankable? These things only happen when it's an organized crime, when people are careless, clueless, and reckless about public expenditure because they don't care. It only happens when there's organized crime. So I think the minimum the Auditor General should be asking for is a refund of the $2 million. In fact, I've made this call in the past that this is not an ambiguous situation. As of the time the $2 million was paid, there was no valid contract between Ghana and any entity. That SPV is a foreign entity as we speak. There's no evidence that any, feasibility study have been done, given to government and approved. So what was the $2 million for? The minimum. That $2 million can pay some of the school feeding contractors, some of the suppliers to buffer stock, some of the road contractors, the get fund contractors.
We've been joined by Parliamentary Affairs Correspondent Kweku Asante. Kweku, the minority say that arrangement is organized crime. What evidence do they give to back that up?
In fact, Aisha, they specifically talk about the processes under which these 2 million cedis was transferred, and they say that it is their belief that if you look at how the money was transferred to that entity in Mauritius, it exposes a certain precondition by the certain government officials who were involved in the deal to loot the state of that resource. And they believe that already financial loss has been caused to the state. 2 million cedis, like you heard Kwame Abuja said, could do a lot of things for the state. And so they believe that there are certain elements within government who have connived to pocket these $2 million under the pretext of giving it to a company for a Sky Train project, and that no such thing will happen. In fact, government has already reneged on this idea of doing a Sky project, and so they want a refund of that money, or a future NDC government will prosecute those officials in charge for causing financial loss to the state.
Kwekwa Asante is our parliamentary correspondent. What else is happening in Parliament? Right, so we'll be bringing you more of what happens in Parliament in our subsequent bulletins. Now,